Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a full coolant flush on my daily driver. This is my Subaru Legacy Outback 96 with the EJ 2.2 engine. I'm going to be doing some repairs on this engine and I'm going to be pulling the engine out, but I figured might as well flush the system. So to do that, you want to get yourself a chemical flush, and with most chemical flushes they recommend draining out the existing coolant system first. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. There's a little drain plug right down here on the corner of the radiator. Right there. So you just undo that, it'll drain out, and then open the cap to let it flow. Now it's dripping slowly. Now if you remove the radiator cap, it's going to want to shoot out in a big stream and it'll make a mess. See, I'll slowly undo the cap. Like so. Yeah, I see how it wants to shoot out, so just let it drip slowly first. Once enough of it drains, then you can pop off the cap and it won't make such a big mess. That lets the airflow get in there and it'll drain a little quicker. Squeezing the hose, get some of that out of there. Alright, once that's done draining, go ahead and put the plug back on. If you want to do a better job of getting more of the coolant out, I recommend undoing that lower hose. You'll get a lot more coolant because a lot of coolant gets trapped in that lower hose in that part of the engine on these Subarus. But I'm going to call it good enough. Now I'm going to remove the overflow tank and dump it out as well and rinse it out. Alright, on my car it's two 10mm bolts in a hose to remove the overflow tank. Yours is going to have a hose as well, or it should. And you just dump it out in here, and as you can see, the coolant is no longer green. It was pretty dirty. There was lots of crud in here. I think the original owners of this engine, because I did an engine swap a while back, they put stop leak in it because it had a leaky radiator. So there's lots of old stop leak that's come off. I'm going to try to rinse all that gunk out as well. Rinsed out the overflow. There's still some junk in there, but I can clean that later. Got most of it out. There's a lot of gunk at the bottom of this. So if all your hoses reconnected, the drain plug, the overflow, we're ready to put in our chemical cleaner and our water. Alright, so I'm going to be using this Prestone cooler cleaning system. So the instruction says to add the entire bottle to the cooling system, then add water. I'm using distilled water, and I recommend you do the same, so only use distilled, not filtered. So for a light cleaning, it says to run the engine for 10 minutes. For heavy duty cleaning, run the 3 to 6 hours, and that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it for a drive for at least a day. And so after the chemical flush is done, you want to drain out the car, add some distilled water for a flush, run it for a few minutes, and then drain all that, and then you're good to go to add your coolant in, either pre-bought 50/50 or mix it yourself with concentrate. If you get concentrate, you have to add distilled water. Since I'm going to be removing the engine, I can do a final rinse and cleaning with the engine out because I'll be able to get in to all the little ports. Now with the chemical in, I'm going to add distilled water on top of that. I recommend you get one of these funnels too. They're really helpful because you will get air pockets, especially in these Subaru engines, and you need to run the engine to get the air out. And this makes it really useful to do so because you can turn on the engine, it'll start sucking all that into the engine, and you can keep on adding. So I'll let that do its thing. It also comes with a little plug that you can plug the hole with too, so once it is full, you can save all the coolant and not waste it. Now I'm going to start the engine, and I'm going to put the heat on full blast. And that should suck out all the water out of our funnel into the system. And you can squeeze the hose to get some of that air out. There we go. And once no more water is going into the system, you can plug it. And then make sure this is topped off too. Alright, with the radiator cap back on and the overflow system filled up, take your car for a drive for however long you wish. As you're on your drive, I recommend bringing distilled water with you, just in case you start overheating or there's air in the system, you need to refill it. Just pop open the overflow, fill it up to the full line as you need. So I'm going to take it for a drive, get that cleaner working through. I recommend taking a nice short drive first to get it up to operating temperature. And make sure your car doesn't overheat, especially for Subarus. Don't want to blow a head gasket and destroy your engine, especially in the hot summer months. You also want to turn your heat on full blast, so I recommend putting your windows down. That'll help run it through the heater core. I want to drive like this for a little bit. After running it with the heater on for a little bit, I put it back on the good old AC. I'm just going to drive it like this for a couple of days. If you do start to overheat at any point, pull over as soon as you can to let the car cool off and turn your heater on full blast. That'll help keep the engine running a little cooler for a little longer. But it looks like the car's doing just fine. We got all the air out and it'll start doing its thing, cleaning out the system. Alright, so after doing your deep clean with the cleaner in the radiator system, the coolant system, you can then go ahead and drain the system out, either by removing that pin down there on the radiator, or removing this lower radiator hose right down there. That will be more efficient. You'll get more coolant out doing it that way. And then after you do that, top it off with distilled water, run the engine for about 10 minutes to do a nice rinse. Then you drain all that out. Then you put everything back together, mix your coolant in, and you're good to go. I'm going to do it a little different because I'm doing engine maintenance, so I'm removing the engine out of my vehicle. So I'm going to drain the chemical coolant out with the chemical wash, and then I'll just use a garden hose to rinse out my engine and all the hose connections. And when I put this thing all back together, I'll probably rinse it out with distilled water and then the coolant. As you can see, the coolant's coming out pretty dirty still, so that chemical wash definitely did its job, it looks like. Lots of crud and all that dirt and corrosion coming right out of the system. If you drain it from that plug down there first, you can crack the radiator cap. Don't take it off because then it'll gush out and probably get everywhere, so just crack it so a little bit of air gets in the system. There's a look at all the junk coming out of there. A lot of that powdery looking stuff, a lot of that stop leak. I'm sure there's some flakes of maybe some bits of corrosion that's been cleaned off that was in the system. Obviously, I've seen a lot worse on YouTube.